Art is displayed in many different ways, but usually the viewer has to go to the art, whether to the museum, the gallery, the book, or the wall in somebody's home. Increasingly, communities in Southeast are changing the way they're displaying art. Perhaps it all began with our first residents erecting and displaying artistic and decorative totem poles. But regardless of the origin, today, public art is very visible art and very available art, whether walking on a sidewalk, driving down the street, or standing in a state courtroom.
It's based on a legend, a Haida legend, and I think there's probably a Klinka legend of a similar nature about Raven discovering mankind in a clamshell. And it has to do with Raven flying down onto a beach and having his fill of shellfish, and right before taking off, seeing this giant clam under the sand, uncovering it, opening it up, and finding these squirming little creatures in there. And it was man, of course, and then Raven told man all about what he would be finding in his new world.
This is a state-of-the-art school, and right now we have a set of 4 killer whales, kind of a small pod of killer whales in the main foyer of the school.
It's a white concrete relief mural done with a 3-wave effects with fish flowing in the waves, and of course he sung the title is to emphasize the rhythms of nature and the annual rhythms of the fish movements, salmon particularly.
I'm not attempting to make it look like anything necessarily other than the piece itself. The basic idea is coming from the wing shapes of early historical aircraft, and the materials are just attempting to tie that to the concept of it.
There are several categories of public art. Some are objects in public that are considered art, such as the concrete structure and cannons sitting on Castle Hill in Sitka, the site of the transfer of Alaska from Russia to the United States. Skagway has rebuilt Front Street stores in the days of '98 style, and some stores have added art on their walls. Wrangell has Shake's Island with the replica of Chief Shake's house, and totem poles decorate various parts of most Southeast towns. Another kind of public art is that specifically authorized by public funds. Representative Mike Miller of Juneau introduced the bill that provides 1% of the cost of state-constructed buildings be used for art.
And I think it's been a marvelous success. You know, we can look around here in Juneau where we're sitting right now, but you can also look on the mural outside walls of a building. I think it's a school. In fact, I'm sure it's a school in Kotzebue, and see some beautiful Eskimo art.
In addition to the state's 1% art program, there are various municipal art programs. One in Juneau is a wooden wall panel on a small downtown park, carved and painted by Ray Peck. It shows a sea monster on more than 24 pieces of cedar and measures 20 feet by 5 feet. This is just one of 4 different public art projects commissioned by the Juneau City Borough Assembly. Another is the mural on the dock, most visible to tourists arriving on ships. It was painted by Dan DeRue, who used a Juneau photo from the late 1800s, but then added more modern faces of Juneau residents from longtime local families. One place public art has expanded is in Petersburg. In fact, you can't walk down Main Street without stepping on it.
We were fortunate enough to get Harold Balaz from Spokane to make the brass imprints that you've seen. Inlays they are really. And those designs were made specifically for Petersburg, as anyone who looks at them notices. And anyway, that's just kind of traditional to consider sidewalks important, and since we were doing a lot of sidewalks here, why, that's what came along. Being called fisk, which is Norwegian for fish, and it's a vertical sculpture with a fountain which splashes down on all these different fish forms that are connected in a large oval, and they're arranged within this. And there's this herring screen, what the artist Boyson called a herring screen.
Many of the stores on Petersburg's main street use a traditional Norwegian art form called rosemalling on their fronts.
It's painted designs of like floral type things, vines and leaves and petals, not exactly flowers, but abstracted flower forms.
A striking mural covers the street side wall of the Ketchikan Community College's Robertson building. It's 120 feet long, 70 feet high, and called The Return of the Eagle. It was started in 1978 with 25 people assisting muralist Don Berry. There are 6 panels and 21 smaller stories. It's meant to look philosophically at the belief in supernatural powers. The mural is based on different relationships to time. Ketchikan also has a different kind of art that isn't afraid to poke a bit of fun at the all-too-common weather condition. Juneau has a variety of public art pieces. One of the most visible is located in Marine Park, the gathering spot for most tourists in the summer season. The bronze sculpture by Ed Way was commissioned by the city and borough during a local centennial and dedicated to the miners who established Juneau and made it grow. The sculpture shows miners using a compressed air machine that allowed greater quantities of ore to be processed. As public art increases, there will likely be increased controversy over some of the results. Nimbus in Juneau, right across from the Capitol, drew enough criticism that eventually legislators formally asked that it be moved.
I think, unfortunately, what's happened here in Alaska is that controversy, that word is now thought of negative. When it's looked at in a negative context with the Art in Public Places program, because people, for the most part, do not understand that they're really, to have a wonderful piece of public art really has a lot to do to help the esteem of the community, to build up, you know, it's just a visual impact.
And that impact is what public art is all about, whether it's for the resident or for the visitor.
I think we all agree that nature's beautiful enough, but humans seem to always have wanted to put their own decorations and stamps and interpretations on life and nature.
For me, it goes back a very long way to whatever man's primal urge is to have art around him. I think the first public art was cave paintings, and I think that we have had it with us as something that everybody needs. Not just what we like, but we obviously have a need for it since we have it all the time.
Art makes people think, it makes people react. You know, you see something, whatever it is, or you hear a symphony, you know, or you attend a performance, and all of a sudden you're thinking, you know, it's triggered something in one's mind.
It just enhances life. It just gives a little color, a little culture perhaps, a little pleasure. It just makes things more pleasant, and I think that's that's the reason why there's just a lot of pleasure, for instance, to be gained as you drive down Egan Drive and you look over there and you see that great humpback whale that Bill Ray Jr. Painted. I mean, that's a beautiful piece of artwork.